Hey everyone, Dave Jeffers here from Dave Jeffers Artist. I thought I'd show you a part that no one's ever really seen. This is the process. I mentioned that I go from some artists will start their paintings by painting like this whole canvas a gray, give it a gray tone, in order to mute out, excuse me, I'm going to think what I'm thinking, get the tones better. There's a general thinking that if you use white, it could skew tones a little bit and make it so your colors will probably be brighter. So right now, I'm just going along the edges. I don't know if you can see that or not, maybe. You'll see the middle part of it in just a minute, so bear with me. So I'm getting this canvas ready. This is my way of preparing the canvas for what's going to be the real painting later. But I'll show you what I mean. And yes, I'm using oil-based spray paints. I use a kind called, let me look at this. This is 2X Ultra Coverage. This is actually a Rust-Oleum. I use it because it's a tougher paint. Right now I'm just painting the edges of the painting. This will be a light blue, or I might change it in a while. I might not keep it that way. Now, what I'm going to do, bring this around here so you can see it better. And I am going to cover this whole thing with a coating of blue. Now, I've actually got this on the turntable underneath a Lazy Susan that I found at a thrift store. And this just allows me to turn this whole thing and get to the areas I need to. So it's much easier to cover, especially a big paint like this, if I can turn it. And I'm not so concerned about getting it completely covered, because part of my process is letting some of these things come through. The imperfections that the paint is going on, the imperfections maybe that's in the canvas. Every canvas has somewhere on there that's not exactly as it should be. And sometimes these things can be used to make very interesting parts of your painting. And so this is my first coat. And I've got a window. I know you probably can't see it from the camera, but it's venting this stuff right out. You don't want to do this in an area that's not vented. You'll wind up, feeling a little too good maybe. Years and years ago, I was stripping a canvas down, and my wife and I lived in an apartment in Albany, New York. And I was in there taking some thinner and then scraping the excess paint off. And the idea was to use the canvas again. But I closed the door, didn't have any windows open, wasn't thinking too well at the time, of course. You can tell that bad decisions there. And I was scraping and scraping and scraping, and I sort of got mesmerized because I was getting, the fumes were overtaking me. And finally my wife smelled it, came in, got me out of there, and took me for a walk. Maybe she saved my life, I don't know. First coat. I'll let that dry for a second or two, but not for long, because the second part of what I'm going to do, this bottle here, you should be able to see this, is filled with paint thinner. And I'm going to spray some paint thinner on there, and this is going to give me some pretty cool effects. Again, this is all preparing the canvas. I don't even consider this really the painting yet, but this is how this canvas will be prepared. Now, I let that sit for a second or two. Now I pick my second color. I've decided to go with kind of a blue-green kind of a thing. And I can also come in here if I want, and you can use any color you want. That's not it. Here's the green. I've got some green here. I'm going to shake it up. And sometimes I don't even shake up the can that well. Again, it gives me another effect. Well, watch closely. I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to put some green down. And I'm going to put some white down. I'm actually going to use a Kills right in the middle. And I've got a compressor. It's going to get noisy now. You're not going to be able to hear me talk. So I'll keep quiet and just kind of watch what happens next. So I'm going to turn on a compressor that I have over here. It's meant for an airbrush. But all I have is the hose. And I'm going to use it that way. There we go. And I'm going to spread it a little bit. Move it around using the air. It's almost like spray painting again. You get some effects, but I'm not that concerned about making any particular design. I'm just preparing the canvas for what I'm going to do next. And I might take some more white as I figure out what I did with it. Let's see, put it somewhere. Where did I set the white? Don't know. In fact, I could add some more thinner. Keep that totally drying. And here we go. Let's see what color I have here. That's a gloss clear. I don't want to use that. There we go. I'm also going to use a different blue than I used before. So you can see it's a different tone. And I put, there it is. There's what I'm looking for, that white. I'm going to come in here and move it around just a little bit. Spread it out. Also do this so that it'll dry faster. Because I'm using a paint thinner on here, it's going to retard the drying time. The more thinner I use, the longer it really takes to dry. So I'm spreading this paint out. Make sure. There we go, that looks good. Now, I'm going to take some more of the green, because I want to keep this green, blue, white, those tones. Really what I'm looking for. I'm going to put it right there, just a little bit. Move it around, take the air compressor hose back a little bit, because I don't want to spread it. I'm going to make more of a definite shape with this one. There we go, like that. Again, you take some of the white, come in here, spread this out. I like the bin. It's actually meant to cover hard to paint surfaces. It's a thicker paint, so it doesn't move as much, and it gives me a better, see, I got some of the green underneath there, so it's showing through. Now I'm going to take some of the blue, and I'm just going to overspray some of the whole thing, because I'm not looking for these values to be dominant. I'm looking for them to be there, but they're not going to be the things really in the paint. So I'm going to go over it with the blue, which dulls these colors down. They're still there, but they're not as powerful now. Now I'm going to look at it, see what I think. Turn it on to Lazy Susan a little bit, see what I think, what angle I like. There's some there. Put a little more of the thinner on there, again, just in a spray bottle. This is hitting here and making a ridge in my painting. Let me fix that. You have to see what happened underneath. I got a board underneath here that helps keep this. There we go. There we are. Now that I put some on there, I'm going to bring the blue back. I'm going to bring this back into this. And sometimes you don't need to do anything at all. Sit and watch it for a second and see how it works. You can actually create quite a bit of three-dimension in this manner. And it looks like one is floating in front of the other. But like I said, this is not the major thing. This is just what I would call an underpainting. Just like some artists paint their entire canvas in a different color, such as, they might use gray, they might use like a charcoal kind of color. I'm kind of doing the same thing here. This is going to be what I'm going to be painting on. This is where it all begins. There we go. It's a little thinner than I want to, so I'm going to bring some white in. It's nice and thick. I love this stuff. It's actually called Kills. The brand of paint is called Kills, and it's meant to cover bad stains and things like that. You might have used a product like this. It's almost like an impasto technique in oil painting. In other words, I'm putting a thicker paint on, but it dries very, very quick. Now I'm going to look this over a minute, and I think what I'm seeing is I like most of it, but I want a little more blue. Here it is. I'm going to get that darker blue. In case you want to know, this is a satin blue. Again, a Rust-Oleum brand. So if you want to try the same thing, it's a satin blue. Tiny bit darker than the one I put on there earlier. Not much. Mix these two blues together. And I'm going to get a spot of green right in the middle of that. And from there, I'm going to spread it just a little. Of course, you're making a lot of decisions as you do this. How much do you want to put on? You know, a lot going on here. I'm going to spin it around just to have a look at it. See if I like it. And it's coming out pretty good. I think what I'm going to do is take a little bit of a golden sunset yellow, and I'm going to go over the whole thing. I'm going to spray over the whole thing again with some thinner. You'll see why in a minute. I'm going to take some of this yellow. Now from a distance, I don't know if you can see it, I'm up higher, and I'm just kind of touching it. I'm not looking to cover anything hard, just a light glaze of paint. Take a little bit of the yellow right here, and I'll put a little bit of white in to dull it. Again, I'm not trying to overpower anything at this point. This is all going to be a lot of underpaint, actually. A lot of this will be covered when I start painting with my brush and my palette knife. I kind of like that. Now, I got all that real estate. Do I want anything else? I could just leave it that way. I'm going to dull it all down with some blue. So I got a little bit too fired up with the yellow over here, so I'm going to go over it with the blue, which will dull the yellow. That too. A little bit, because I want the yellow to show through, but I don't want to dominate the painting. It's not what I'm looking for. There we go. Let's have a look. And I think we're going to leave that right there. I think we're going to stop, and we're going to call that underpainting done. I'm going to turn it a little bit just to have a look at it. There are times that I'll bring in a brush at this point and move the paint around a little bit, but I don't feel the need to do that right now. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to look underneath here and see what's poking into this. Ah, that's what the problem is. Okay, I just figured out the problem. I see the indentation coming through. It's actually caught in the painting itself. There we go. Loosen that up. That's better. Yeah. Not that loose. There we go. There we go. Now we let it dry. Sometimes when the temperature's lower, that's even cooler to do it this way. What I'll do is I'll bring it in like this and let that window, there's a window right above the painting. You can't really see it. Putting a little more green on. Just going over the whole painting. Dulling it down again. There we go. So this is my underpainting. This is where everything else will be determined. I'll take some of the things that are happening here, and some of the things that will happen here will become part of the painting. Others will be covered up completely. But that is the process that I use to start painting. And that is kind of like my underpainting. I thought you might like to see that and see how that works. So that's where it starts. Now I let this dry. When it's dry enough to move, I'll take it into my easel and begin painting with brushes and other things. I'll let you guys look again when I get to that point.